Alright, finally decided to do some online racing. And the first day I decided, the ring was available, so just a one lap race. Everyone's pretty close in times except the person who is in first, and spoiler alert, if I remember correctly, he beats everybody by a pretty decent margin. But we are starting at the top, so that's exciting. Hopefully fighting for a podium. Guess we will see how this goes. As this is my first time recording, I kind of forgot to mute my mic before I was finished racing, so you'll hear my other mic every once in a blue moon. It only comes up twice when I slam into the wall, if I remember correctly. The rest should be pretty normal. I was pretty scared starting this race out with this first turn, knowing it was going to start us off in the ending turn where there might be a whole bunch of bumping and people just lunging into the corner before we even get into the race. But let's see how this first turn goes. Most of these people are all running vaguely the same time, so it's mostly just going to come down to whoever makes the least mistakes. And we already see a bump, which sends second place car completely out of the race, and getting knocked back there is really bad. I'm getting beat up in here, just begging for the outside lane. He says no. And at that point, it's just stay calm, stay on the road, safely get back on. There's not that much time lost right at the start anyways. Still in range of a podium. This is honestly one of my favorite parts of the track, where it's just completely open. Get a good angle or let off the gas for this one and just kind of cruise through these upcoming S's. Not really anywhere to pass on these. Hope to be close enough just to apply a little bit of pressure to them. Maybe they make a mistake and go off and you can just drive by, but wouldn't recommend going for too many too wide passes through those. Cones terrify me in this game, so I'm glad I didn't hit that, and this almost sent me flying. That curb was just a little bit higher than I expected. At this point, I'm literally just thinking, let's try to stay close, watch these two, see if we can't get a podium. If someone messes up this sweeper, then we're going to get a lot of room on them. And speak of the devil, he goes flying off, and that's a terrible turn to mess up. Just because you're going this fast right after you mess it up, there's no way to catch up with these people who didn't mess it up. Which is also why you don't want to mess up this turn. But if you do, I found out there's no penalty for going off the road right here. I just barely touched the grass, but just stayed under control, stayed on the brakes, just tried to get myself in the turn, and realizing second place is starting to pull away, I really just want to put down clean laps, try to make sure I'm hitting my marks, because I'm going to have to rely on him to drive slower than me for me to catch up, because he does have a decent few second gap on me at this point in time. I also haven't raced the track a whole bunch, so especially not online, so I didn't know all my braking points as well as I would like to, but I've raced it in plenty of games that I can get away marginally well. And no one in this track except the first guy was just insanely fast or anything like that either. So we're just trying to hit down as straight a laps as we can, hit our spots, not mess up too badly. That's not going to go as planned, but never give up, because the people in front of you can always mess up, the people behind you can always mess up. Now, I don't have the benefit of him catching the first place car and them battling to slow them down, so really it's mostly just watch your lines and hope for him to maybe make a mistake where I can catch back up. But forgot about this turn, and that probably should have been a 5-second penalty, as you could maybe hear me saying over the mic right there, but for whatever reason, no penalty. Guess praise the Gran Turismo gods on that one. But other than that, hitting most of my marks to try to keep the guy in range. He's extended his lead almost up to 5 seconds, so at this point we really just need him to either have a penalty that he's not running off, or a penalty he has to run off, or just make some sort of brutal mistake somewhere, because the guy behind is closer than I am to the guy in second. But lucky for us, it's about a 7-ish minute race, 8-minute race, depending on the lap. I think it was closer to 8 if I remember right, so we're only about halfway through, so there's plenty of time for him to make mistakes, for us to get the opportunity to catch up. He could rack up a huge penalty and have to run it off before the end. There's not a real good spot to run it off at the very end, so you'd have to run it off in the track. Because the end's a long straightaway into some turns that probably wouldn't run the penalty off, so you'd have to find somewhere else to get rid of it. But something happened behind us because the gap behind us just skyrocketed. We are now closer to second place, so going through here, realizing I had a podium if I just do it safe, I go a little bit cautious into this corner right here, just to make sure I don't go flying off to the right. Man, I wish I would have thought about that throughout the rest of the race, because let's just say there may be another wall in my future that probably should give me a penalty, but for whatever reason does not. But it's down the road a little bit. And I'm also noticing that I do have him in sight. It's always exciting. Gotta like it when they're in range of you. You can see them. That means they can see you in the mirror. It might just add that pressure for them to be looking in the mirror, miss a brake spot, or just any kind of pressure you can add could always make them mess up. But it is about halfway through the race, and we are just trying to run as clean as we can. Try my best to remember every turn as I'm coming up on them. I have decent amount of practice on the first half of this course. The last half of the course is much less practiced, which tends to have me go slower through areas I shouldn't, and go faster through areas that I definitely need to go slower through. But we are keeping the gap about the same, closing it in a little bit as we go. With a few minutes left, it's probably going to take an error from him for us to be able to catch up to him. But the time is dropping a lot. He is slowed down quite a bit here. But once again, not really completely knowing the backside of the track, slamming into a wall, and again, Gran Turismo gods are my favorite. Somehow that's magically not a penalty. And going through here, once I hit that, I was pretty much just wanting to make sure I kept second place behind me. Got lucky there. My tires barely touched the grass, but they didn't flip around, so that's always a good feeling. And now all of a sudden he's still in view, though. Maybe I could catch up to him if I really tried. Got some lucky turns, had him have to, again, run off a penalty or just take turns way too slow. But I'm really not that comfortable with this side of the map, so I'm trying my best to remember where you just gun it, and the gears to turn into different areas and things like that at, while still trying to hit it as fast as I can to even get in range of him. Because if he has a 1 or 2 second penalty and I can get up to him without any penalty on my side, I could just pass him based on penalty time. Because like I said, he can't really run it off anywhere if he hasn't already run it off. If he goes to run it off anywhere through here, well, this is coming up into the back straight where, like, I mean, if he just went to a complete stop here, he'd lose so many positions, because he'd have to go from a dead stop all the way back up to full speed, and you're coming around that turn at over 120 miles an hour. So you can't run it off here if you have a penalty. And I don't think you can run it off while you're in a turn. You have to come to like a dead stop in a turn to run it off. So after this, with the real tight S's, not really a chicane, I guess it might be, the little S's at the end, I don't think he could run a penalty off there. So if he is sitting on a penalty, we're just trying to make sure we're close enough that maybe we can just scrape by with a second place. As you can see, first place is already finished. He ran a 7:33, if that's what that says. And now we're just hoping to get close, trying to stay inside, hoping he messes this and goes wide. He doesn't. We do. And now it's just an absolute race to the finish line and praying he's got some sort of penalty, which, as we see, he does have a penalty, and we beat him just barely. Good race. Fun times.